It's the end of the year. There's no one anywhere. Have you noticed? Our physical store has no customers, and even the barber shops are empty this year. Young people are losing their hair because of stress, and older folks don't have much left either. Now it's already the 12th lunar month. Just over 10 days until Chinese New Year, and yet barbershops are empty. Markets are deserted. Physical stores have no customers, restaurants are quiet, and even the main streets are empty. Where has everyone gone? Business this year is so bad. It's like calling for help with no answer. If this vicious cycle continues, all physical stores will be doomed. Next year doesn't look promising at all.
The stock market already feels dismal enough. Today I came to Hangzhou's Gongshu Wanda Plaza, and the Golden Street here feels even worse. It's like doomsday. Just look at it, completely empty. Every shop is either up for rent or already closed. This is what the end of days must look like. January 29th marks Chinese New Year. In previous years, this time of year would see streets and alleys brightly decorated, filled with festive cheer. Families would be busy putting up Spring Festival couplets, hanging lanterns, and stocking up on holiday goods. Shopping malls would be packed with crowds, and dazzling promotions were everywhere. Children were brimming with excitement, eagerly anticipating red envelopes and new clothes. Adults spent their time visiting relatives and friends, exchanging New Year blessings. The lively scenes were filled with a rich festive atmosphere. However, this year feels unusually different. Many people have noticed an eerily quiet environment with no sense of festivity. Malls are no longer hosting events, restaurants are empty, clothing stores can't sell their goods, and even the once thriving barber shops have no customers. Streets and alleys are lined with shuttered shops and closed restaurants. Numerous business owners are lamenting the economic downturn and how challenging it has become to make a living. Some are saying this year feels even quieter than during the pandemic. It seems that 2025 may go down as the coldest and quietest Chinese New Year in recent memory. Guys, have you noticed something? It's just 2 weeks until the Chinese New Year. In previous years, the shops downstairs and streets everywhere would already be playing Andy Liu's Gong Xi Fa Cai. I have been hearing that song since I was a kid, but this year it's gone. By now, we'd usually be visiting flower markets, buying fruits, dried goods, seafood, new clothes, exchanging fresh bills, and preparing red envelopes. But this year, there's nothing. No activity at all. What's going on? Have you noticed? This year, there are no promotional events or New Year exhibitions in the malls. It's almost Chinese New Year, yet the streets aren't lined with vendors selling couplets or lanterns. Everything feels so quiet and deserted. Don't you think that's strange?
This year, making money isn't about how hard you work. Even if you give it everything, it's impossible to make a profit. Just look at the streets. They are cleaner than if a dog licked them. There's not even a single person around.
This year has been especially tough on small business owners in physical stores. They've struggled all year hoping to make some money during the new year to recover their losses. But now that the season is here, the market hasn't picked up at all, leaving them bitterly disappointed.
I never thought this would happen. After enduring the off-season and surviving the toughest times, we finally reached the 12th lunar month, only to collapse in the winter. This is the worst year for business in over 20 years of running my store. Tomorrow is already the 20th day of the 12th lunar month. Last year on this day, I prepared 8 flower charts for customers. This year, I'm just relieved I didn't have 0 sales. Counting the days, there are 9 left until New Year. For physical store owners, the 12th lunar month is everything. During the slow months of May through to October, we hold on to the hope that December will bring business from weddings, engagements, birthdays and housewarmings. But the bigger the hope, the bigger the disappointment. This year's sluggish business has made me question everything. I've never felt like this before. Fellow store owners, do any of you feel the same way? Today is Saturday, January 18th, 2025, just 9 days until New Year. Here's the state of the shoe market in Wu'ai market. Our sales today were 140 yuan. Even reaching that number wasn't easy. Let's see how Sunday goes. The watch shop next door didn't even make a single sale. These days, when people meet, they don't ask if sales are good anymore. They just ask if you've made any sales at all.
Another clothing store owner shared their struggles.
Running a physical store this year has been incredibly difficult and exhausting. Even the busiest streets can't sustain business anymore. There's no foot traffic, no business. During what should be the peak season in December, some stores go days without a single sale. Some can't even afford rent and have had to shut down completely.
The wave of store closures has hit us hard. For those of us in the clothing business, it's hard to see a way forward. With the economy in steep decline and people tightening their wallets, clothing stores have been hit the hardest. Clothing isn't a necessity, people can live without it. Next are restaurants. Even though many seem open, insiders know most don't last long before changing hands. It's one failed attempt after another. Some entrepreneurs take the risk, thinking they'll succeed where others failed, but most end up the same way, failing. It's about 10 days until Chinese New Year, and this is Wang Qiao's rural market in my hometown. In past years, the streets would be packed with people, drums beating and firecrackers everywhere. The crowds were so dense you could barely move. But look at this year. The streets are so quiet you could count the people with a broom. This is Wang Qiao Street. Take a look. Every street here is practically empty. Where did everyone go as New Year approaches? Even barber shops, which should be in peak season, are only getting a few customers a day. This is so unusual. Some people commented, asking if workers from out of town just haven't returned home yet. A commenter likely working in Guangdong replied, "It's not that we haven't returned, it's that we don't want to go back this year. What's the point? We haven't made any money and going home would just cost more. We can't afford to go home anymore." Others commented that people are cutting back on spending, tightening their belts and avoiding expenses whenever possible. In previous years, this was also the peak season for engagements and weddings, as young people working elsewhere would return home. But this year, the number of weddings has dropped sharply, leaving many wedding businesses unable to stay afloat.
干了17年的同行今天撤店了。
After 17 years in the business, one of my peers shut down their wedding shop today and left the industry for good. They sold off all their wedding dresses at rock bottom prices. I should feel happy, right? After all, it's one less competitor. But honestly, I feel a mix of emotions. The wedding industry has become a sunset industry. With the declining population of young people, even fewer are getting married. Many in the business can't hold on anymore. Some are even selling off their camera lenses, and everyone's talking about switching careers. But to me, I'll say stick with it. Don't quit now because switching industries will only put you back in the rat race. Honestly, I wouldn't recommend anyone starting a new business these days. The harder you work, the more debt you'll rack up.
Some users have posted videos showing high-end items like expensive fruits and seafood, once popular during the new year, are now going unsold, with prices plummeting.
怎么办？
What should we do?
残酷的货全部卖不出去。
The warehouse is full and none of the goods are selling. This time, I'm really shutting down. For ordinary people, this new year feels like an ordeal. Physical stores are dead quiet, things like cherries and seafood which used to sell out are just sitting there. Many companies have cancelled their annual parties and year-end bonuses have been slashed. According to a recent report from the Qianjiang Evening News, cherry prices have dropped drastically since they first hit the market. Initially priced at 1,200 to 1,500 yuan per 5 kilograms, they've now fallen to around 220 to 230 yuan, a drop of 80%. Cherries are considered a high-end fruit, and sellers count on the New Year's season to make their profits. Now, with prices tanking, you can imagine how many fruit sellers are crying in the back room. Mr. Wu, a Shanghai resident, told Radio Free Asia on January 15th that the poor economy has diminished the festive atmosphere this year. He said, "There's no New Year vibe. A few days ago, I went shopping and saw that many supermarkets have shut down because they couldn't stay in business. In the past, this time of year, you'd have to wait in line for 30 minutes to check out. Now you can pay immediately because there's no purchasing power." Mr. Gao, a Wuhan resident, also shared that local consumption levels have dropped significantly. Some people who had temporarily rented stalls for selling New Year goods have abruptly pulled out. He said, "In Wuhan, at the exhibition for New Year goods, many vendors gave up their booths. They'd sell for 1 or 2 days, see poor sales, and just leave. This isn't just a problem in cities, it's happening in rural areas too." A blogger noted, "In the past, Guangdong had a unique New Year's vibe. You could feel it in the air. When the 12th lunar month started, you'd hear the occasional firecracker, constantly reminding you that the new year was near. Now, there's not a single person on the streets. Everything has changed. In December last year, a blogger in Hohhot, Inner Mongolia, interviewed street vendors, asking them if they made any money in 2024. Let's hear what they had to say.
Ma'am, did you make money in 2024? No, I didn't. I didn't make money last year either, and I don't know if I'll make any next year.
Make money? I just barely solved my food problems. It's like gambling with my life just to earn something. Look at me, wearing layers of padded jackets. Rich people, they wear one coat and that's it. But look at me, one big padded jacket on top of another.
It's much worse than last year, down by at least 2/3. There are more people setting up stores now, but customers are spending less. They are not buying anything. How much longer do you think you can keep this up?
For now, I'll just maintain my livelihood. This year is over, we'll see how 2025 goes. Right now, it's just one step at a time. What can you do? You still have to eat. If I don't set up my stall, I won't have any income. Who's going to pay for my medical bills or medicine? No matter what, I have to keep working. Without this, I can't survive. If workers have jobs, they can spend money, and we can keep going. But if they don't, we won't survive either, right?
I don't know how much longer I can do this. If it really doesn't work out, I'll go and find a job. But even now, nowhere is hiring.
From their responses, it's clear that most people didn't make money in 2024. With that in mind, how can anyone feel like celebrating the new year? A blogger posted that 2025 might be the quietest Chinese New Year ever, citing two main reasons. Number one, financial struggles. After working hard all year, many people haven't earned money. In fact, some are in deep debt. But celebrating the new year requires buying holiday goods and giving red envelopes to younger family members. For those already struggling financially, even these basic expenses are a heavy burden, draining their motivation to celebrate. Number two, severe employment challenges. Many migrant workers who couldn't find jobs have already returned to their hometowns. Those still working away from home are often deterred by the high cost of plane or train tickets, even if they want to go home for the holidays. The blogger missed one key point. People are losing confidence. There's a lack of basic security. Business owners wonder how much longer their shops can stay open. Investors fear losing everything. Even civil servants, once thought to have iron rice bowl stability, are anxious about whether their next paycheck will arrive. This loss of confidence stems from the larger environment. It's a state of resignation and hibernation that's shrinking the economy. When people lose faith in the future, they tighten their belts and avoid spending. This future drags down the economy, making people even less willing to spend. It's a vicious cycle that leads to widespread stagnation and hardship. Unless there's a significant change, a major economic depression sweeping across China seems inevitable.